Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as further leaks are emerging with regard to these roster trials, the Minnesota Rokkr may have decided what they want to do with their SMG pairing. The assault rifle question though remains very much up in the air ahead of the Prime Classic and Major 3 as well. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. Plenty to dive into today. First of all, wanted to mention this as well because the trophy system, right, that we talked about yesterday, the pros seem to have decided probably already that they're not even going to bother trying it and, won't really bother testing it out because kind of makes sense from their perspective in a way. It's been 6 months of playing this game without trophies. Now you add them in if they decide to. It does change the dynamic quite a bit and there isn't really the time, to be honest. It's like, look, if Sledgehammer wants to add them in, why not do them a bit earlier than now? So, maybe they have this entire month off effectively to at least try them out or something. They don't really have the time to do that now, especially because these aren't any regular boring trophy systems that just destroy 2 pieces of equipment. These are serious bad boys. They destroy up to 3 pieces of equipment, it seems, and have also a fast recharge. I'm pretty sure the pros I shared a clip yesterday of it back in February when they were discussing the fact that most pros seem to agree trophies might make this game worse. They said that, okay, pretty much, if it only destroys 2 pieces of equipment, and if it's a field upgrade, then it's kind of, it might be okay to give it a go. At least, one player or a team can have it, or something like that. Now, it turns out, yes, it is a field upgrade, but it recharges very quickly, supposedly. That's kind of in the dead silence slot, but it also destroys up to 3 pieces of equipment. So already probably pros are seeing this and thinking, yeah, it's probably too strong. Ranked play might just be chalked. But, that's kind of a frustrating thing in a way, right? We want ranked play to be exactly the same experience that the pros are playing. And of course, now the Volk is gone for pros. You'd think maybe it should be gone from ranked as well. That's kind of what happened last year. I think it took quite a long time for Trek to catch up with the GAs. Eventually, I'm pretty sure they did replicate the GAs, the AK-47 ban and stuff. I think is what they did in the ranked play system as well. Whether they will do that at some point, I'm not really sure. And also the whole trophy system idea is another question as well, if the pros aren't using it, but it's probably still going to be in ranked play for quite some time to come. So interesting conversation, no doubt. This also to mention, because tomorrow is the CDL Resurgence or whatever they call it, finals. Pretty sure they've done the qualifiers yesterday and I guess today as well. We'll have a look at the standings here in just a second. One of the teams, of course, being the Boston Breach. 2 players from their starting team in Methods and Capstall. Coach Zed's coming back in, and Doug sent to Martin, baby. Just absolutely love to see it. Now, well, this kind of 100k prize pool they've got going on here. Unfortunately, as I said a few days ago, is not actually all the starting teams for the rosters. Only 4 out of the 12 CDL organization teams that are competing in this actually have any of their starting players on the roster, which is kind of stupid. Hopefully the ones that actually do get some distance in the tournament, to be honest. But these are all the teams, if you guys are unfamiliar, like the Los Angeles Thieves team, for example. This pretty OP squad. Tommy, Rated, Armand, and Noobs. But they've got no one on their actual starting team here. But this team is going to be very difficult to beat in this kind of resurgence event. So it's a bit of a strange one, to be honest. These are all the squads if you guys are kind of unfamiliar or familiar with any of these. I'll just scroll down real quick. Optic, for example, have Sebas, Holly, Z-Laner, and Calm on their squad, for example. So it's been interesting stuff the last day or so. Only streamed on YouTube, though, I think due to the contract terms and stuff. CDL stuff can effectively only be broadcasted on YouTube, and these are some of the other teams that managed to qualify through the open side. And just look at this real quick, the leaderboard so far. I'm guessing this is continuing on today. I'm not 100% sure of the format, to be honest, but Semi-A looks like this. So Thieves, Subliners, I think most of these top teams will get through to the finals, but out of all the squads, I guess there's 12 teams here. It goes down to, I think, 5 teams from each group. This is Semi-A, this is Semi-B, if you guys are particularly interested. And yeah, honestly, let's just crack on. Wanted to mention this also, though, from the Ghost of Hope yesterday, talking about Modern Warfare 2, of course, this year's game that we might be dealing with for 2 years. Some, early optimistic signs. I don't want to get too optimistic, obviously. It's Infinity Ward at the end of the day. The competitive scene has never been great on those games, but look, still, this is potentially a positive sign because the last few years, we've had this 10 attachment BS. You've got 80 attachments, you've got to choose 10 of them. Does anyone really like that? Maybe people do, I'm not really sure. But still, for competitive, I've been enjoying lately going back to Black Ops 3. I put a reflex on, I put quick draw stock, maybe long barrel, maybe grip, whatever I want to do. 3, 4 attachments, that's job done. But in that game, you actually are allowed up to 5, and I think 6 with the reflex sight, or whatever you want to run on it. So potentially, we might be going back to a 5 attachment situation going forwards, which hopefully means if there's only 5 attachments on the guns, then there's not 80 there's not 17 different different variations of quick draw. Like, I could do just one quick draw, maybe 2 quick draws, like in, I guess, Black Ops 4, you had quick draw 1, quick draw 2. Like, that'll do for me. Hopefully they go back to that more simplistic version, which I think generally would be a good idea. So we shall see what they do on that front. This also, just to mention, of course, not really relevant for competitive, but the ACR, in fairness, was a, well, very commonly used weapon back in the Modern Warfare 3 days, for example. The intervention and the ACR, both in Modern Warfare 2, apparently. So that's all I think pretty exciting stuff. Just maybe shows they're taking a slightly different tack with this year's title than they have done the last few years, going back to maybe a more simplistic time, which, hopefully is going to be a good thing for competitive, to be honest. Let's talk about these trials then, right? So big questions right now, what's going on with the subliners? The current rumors have it that Kismet is going to be there, maybe in place of Neptune, like Hydra, Crim, Porlex, and Kismet might be the squad of 4. They might decide to do something entirely different, though, because they've still got some time to figure things out. The current rumor has it, as regards to the Minnesota Rokkr, is that Havoc is in their team. That's the thing. Crone seems to be pretty convinced that Havoc and Kismet have pretty much been signed. So at this point, both of those teams are probably thinking, okay, we want Kismet, we want Havoc, respectively. Therefore, let's figure out what we want to do with the rest of our team to actually make them fit in the best and actually have the best version of this, right? Because if the team seems pretty comfortable and the coaching staff is happy with these 2 guys coming through, maybe the contracts haven't been signed yet, who knows? Haven't seen any contract signing gifts sitting in the timeline, which, pretty much is what determines all this type of stuff. But, until that happens, they're probably going to play around with all the different roles and whatever that could potentially happen within the team. Of course, at some point, you've pretty much got to say, okay, this is our roster, because today's, what, the 23rd of April. In a week and a bit's time, a couple of weeks' time, we go to the Pro-Am Classic, so you want to have, like, probably at least a week of good practice with your team as it should be, with the roles as they are, before you go to that event, and then right after that, it's Major 3 qualifiers, right? So they have to determine relatively quickly what they want to do with these teams if they want a decent amount of practice with the roster and the roles composition that they want to bring forward if they actually want to make this work. Now, this is spotted last night from Crone. I guess this is Pentagram stream, well, he spots Havoc, Attach, and Standy all in the same lobby together. Brian Saint and Luna, the coaching staff, and the Minnesota Rokkr also there. So these are the 3 that seem to be, of course, like, this could be still part of a trial ongoing, and it seems like trials are still taking place here, with it depending on who the 4th player is, which certainly is the big discussion right here. But you would think at this point that if Havoc, there's been talks about, okay, Havoc and Standy, Havoc and Priestahh, what's going to be the SMG duo, and it seems like, at least based on this, Havoc and Standy might have been what they selected, right? Because as I've kind of said, if you're bringing Havoc in and you're pretty set on that, you've got to decide relatively quickly what the SMG pairing is going to be. Maybe they've done that with what has been spotted right here. Of course, the other part of things, though, is what happens to the rest of the roster, because Havoc, Attach, and Standy, Attach is pretty much a dead cert to stay anyway. Standy and Havoc might be their SMG combo, which, to be honest, probably has slightly more pace than the Havoc Priestahh SMG combo, but I do wonder what happens to Priestahh slot or MajorManiak slot, or what they decide to do, because I think generally this team has been far too slow this season. I think there is a world in which this team gets better by having Havoc, Standy as your SMGs, Priestahh as your flex, and then just honestly putting Attach as the main ER. Seems kind of stupid, but I know that Scump has talked about for years that if he was the main ER, he'd be absolutely dominating. We've seen what Scump's done so far this year on MW2, for example, when he pulls out an auto, just absolutely frying people, and Attach has been in a pretty similar boat, right? Been an SMG for most of his career, generally a kind of slower, more pre-aim heavy SMG, and then the last couple of games, stepped a bit more into the flex role, certainly this year as well, and has had great success. I look like the best player on this team in the kind of flex position. Now, MajorManiak right now is the AR player for the squad. Statistically, he's not looking so good, but his search and destroy has been pretty strong, with things considered. Definitely adds a lot, I think, in that game mode. But, is a one-person change enough for this team to actually get to where they want to be? I'm not necessarily sure it is. So maybe Attach Priestahh as the kind of AR flex duo, then Standy and Havoc actually could be something to try out. Maybe they are trying it out, or maybe they just think, okay, Attach as the flex works, Havoc and Standy as the SMG combo, then okay, Priesthah's gone, and let's try another main assault rifle instead of MajorManiak, right? It's kind of interesting. These were the 3 to be spotted here in the lobby. Of course, has been some talk about Clayster, right? Could a Clayster Havoc kind of combination work? We discussed that possibility a couple of days ago, just because they seem to have a relationship kind of forming over there when they were potentially going to team together on the subliners not too long ago. But yeah, apparently Clayster is not getting involved, at least as of now. There probably were some trials going down with him, but seemingly they've kind of come to nothing. So interesting stuff. Definitely intrigued to your perspective down below. But yeah, keeping Standy and Attached to me makes sense. Havoc coming in, I quite like that idea. I think most people kind of agree he's been the most promising challenger player so far this year. And it's always interesting, right? Because year by year, there's some players that are really great at one Call of Duty, and next year they kind of fall off a cliff. Like what's happened to Cammy so far this year, for example, could be a good example of that, right? Last year, top 3, top 4, top 5, certainly player in the game, especially towards the end of the title, like a probably top 3 player in the game at the end of the title, to be perfectly honest. This year, like he's, top 40 or whatever out of the 48 players. Like it's been pretty brutal for Cammy so far this year, no doubt. His stats actually aren't so bad, but just in terms of impact in comparison to last year, Cammy's nowhere near his level. But like when players drop down to challengers after having a tough season, like often people consider they're just going to stay at the same level, right? So it's often a guy like Havoc, like obviously he was not particularly good last year. He was a solid player, serviceable serviceable player, but nothing spectacular. This year, he might just be fantastic at Call of Duty Vanguard. Like, it happens where players have these flip-flops, and now all of a sudden he is a pro-level player once again. But it might take a little bit of time for players to get used to that, right, given the game changes, and some people get better, some people get worse. So, Hammer coming in, I like the idea. Just to look at these stats, actually, the entire season on the whole, it's really the game 1 hardpoints that have been letting Minnesota Rokkr down. 6 in 18 in hardpoint. I think their game 1s, there's something like 1 in 14, or maybe 2 in 14 at a push. Like, their game 1 record is absolutely atrocious. So, I'm not sure, personally, a one-man change is going to be enough. We did see a while ago when Enable was talking about Los Angeles Thieves, he reckoned that a one-man change there wasn't enough for the chemistry and stuff. This team might be a different story. And Priestahh probably has been the worst performer on the team when you look at kind of respawn KD and stuff like this. Of course, Standy isn't too far, well, above him here, but at least Standy's Search and Destroy has been very good at a 1.26 over the course of the year. So, like, yeah, Standy's respawn hasn't been great, probably still worth a go, and Priestahh could be on his way out, right? That's the thing, if Priestahh is going, like, what does that mean for other organizations? Because I remember back at the start of, I guess it was last year, Black Ops Cold War, when Los Angeles Thieves really wanted to get Priestahh as their 4th player, ended up getting Temp right in addition to Slasher Kenny and TJ Halley, but they wanted Priestahh, who could have been a great piece in that 100 Thieves roster back in the Black Ops 4 days, but Priestahh got signed to the Minnesota Rokkr at the time. Of course, this team won an event last year at the Stage 5 Major, but yeah, Priestahh could certainly be a hot prospect on the market, maybe just needs a new situation, a new kind of environment to flourish like he has done in the past. But as I say, the teams don't have all that long really to figure out what they want to do. This team probably has a few more days realistically of actually being able to trial players, whether they're trialing out Priestahh still or what their decision is actually going to be if MajorManiak is staying. I feel like some of these players don't necessarily deserve to get dropped, but sometimes things just have to change, to be honest. And there are free agents out there on the market. Clayster, as always, trying to get his ear in as well for an opportunity like this. But yeah, as I say, like, they've got maybe a week, a few days to actually trial these things out, come to a conclusion, then kind of set in stone what the team is going to be, get some good practice in for those coming days, and then go to the Pro-Am, which, yes, it's a single elimination tournament once you get out of the groups, if you do get out of the groups, but the groups are far from easy to get out of anyway, and even then, it's still going to count to some degree as a championship victory. There's prize money on the line. Yes, there's no points towards the World Championship, but it's a good gauge of where you're at as a team. And just to finish out with this as well, I thought was cool, just given on the topic of Minnesota Rokkr from Money Hill Stats, Hardpoint team ratings for Stage 1 and 2. He's got his own formula to calculate this, but thought it was pretty interesting, really, just looking at some of these numbers, because at Minnesota Rokkr, I guess in fairness, they're actually only 11th in terms of hardpoint rating. Paris Legion apparently are worse. But yeah, the team rating, not exactly sure how this is calculated. I guess in a not too dissimilar way to how Lionman does his card ratings based on all sorts of different statistics, like hold percentage, break percentages, like how much time you accrue per map and stuff like this. Thought it was interesting though, actually, just looking at the numbers per different maps, because Optic, for example, like, they only have a 36 rating here on Berlin. Like, their Berlin hasn't been great, even though probably improving quite significantly as of late, but then on maps like Tuscan and MW2, they're absolutely fine. Definitely a different story for other teams, but FaZe actually the #1 hardpoint rating according to this, which I think over the course of Stage 2 is probably the case. I think they had probably the best hardpoint in Stage 2. Mutineers in 3rd is very interesting. Probably their Bacage carries them up because they've been very good at that map. Boston right behind them. The Los Angeles Thieves, after their great start, have fallen off quite dramatically. And then, yeah, the bottom 4, New York Subliners, Toronto Ultra, Minnesota Rokkr, and the Paris Legion. Interesting, actually, how these 4 teams are the bottom 4 in the CDL standings, right? So it just goes to show performing well in hardpoint is absolutely critical to the CDL standings and qualifying for champs, but winning an event, that probably comes down to more like Search and Destroy, as we saw from Los Angeles Guerrillas at Major 2. But very much enjoyed to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tells you YouTube gods, this is a good video, and it's like you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.